Sippers, welcome to this episode of the Tea With Me podcast with me, Shane Todd. Big episode, another guest this week, doing 2 guest episodes this week, and then next week we'll be back to normal of 1 guest episode and one of just my big fat face. Before we go any further, let me plug 2 things. Number 1, patreon.com/Tea With Me podcast, where you get a bonus episode every week. My stand-up special from last year, John. You know this by now. We'll do the live episode once a month. I'm too warm in this. I think I'm going to faint. Christ. So it's patreon.com/Tea With Me podcast, where you get all that extra content. And a lot of people go on the video podcast while you're matching green and blue. But hey, I think that's what we have to do to move this part of the world forward. So patreon.com/Tea With Me podcast. We're also delighted to say that we are sponsored by Jube Sweets. Jube. Now, Jube is obviously very fun to say, and they're a very fun company. They make bespoke sweets. They bring you bespoke sweets, and if you want to be American, because everything's American this week, you would say candy. Jubes.com. We put the link in the bio, and let me just say, it's sweets that you wouldn't expect. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking at the website now, I can see almond toffee and sea salt milk chocolate. I'm seeing amaretto cherry gummies. You know, it's a very middle class snack, but I don't think Jubes make you fill out a class form on here, so I think anybody could get it. Billionaire's milk chocolate, blueberry and raspberry gummy candy, caramel chocolate buttons, candy floss popcorn, and by the way, we had a little bit of a soiree in the office, not like a pouch party, Jesus Christ. I just mean me, producer Dan, and Big Mike were socially distanced. We had the masks on, but we may have slipped a few of Jube Sweets under our mask and into our tummies. That might have happened, and it might have been delicious, and it might have been a great time. They're on all social media. Jubes. It's a new company. They're sending sweets all around the place. Essentially, is what they're doing. So check that out, and a good way to accompany your cup of tea to listen to this podcast. Let us get on with this episode. My guest. Let's just bring him on. You guys know him by now. He's a regular fixture on this podcast. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, raise the roof. My guest, raise the roof and listen to the rest of this al fresco, because my guest is the raging Caucasian himself, Mr. Aaron Butler. Your setup isn't your usual kind of setup. You look like you're I don't know. You look like you're in a waiting room about to get some sort of strange surgery.
No, do you know what I look like? I look like I'm about to record like an induction video for a cult. You know, like this is your opening package, and I like sort of tell you all the ins and outs of everything going on. But look, it's just my room. That's all it is.
Genuinely, I mean this in the best possible way. You could easily be signed up for a cult. 100%. Like I could see some guy doing like this is how you'll die, right? Some guy will start a cult.
Why does it have to be a guy?
Okay, some woman will start a cult.
A couple, a guy and a girl.
A guy and a girl will start a cult. They will have like thousands of followers. You will be one. They will do like a big, like, you know, like that thing where they all drink the poison. And they obviously meant it as a joke, but you will be the one guy that doesn't realize it's a joke and drinks the poison.
Joke's on me.
That's how you're gonna go, and I don't know why, but if it's a man and woman who own the cult, it's bound to be some sort of weird sex cult, and that's how you're gonna die. You're gonna be poisoned with your pants around your ankles.
And that's the way I want it to be. All right, if there's a way I die, that's exactly. I'll die happy.
Oh man, I mean, could you see yourself joining a cult? Like, do you think out of just because like lockdown, people are bored, all that kind of thing? Like, could you see yourself like getting into something weird like that?
No, I can't. Like, here's the reason why I'd say no, because I'm like no religion appeals to me. I think if you're a person that religion appeals to you, you're definitely more susceptible to being in like some sort of cult. Now, would I join one as like if they're all like, oh, we're all having mad freaky sex, but you have to kill yourself then? I'm part, I'm ready to die. Send me to Allah. And then I'm all like, oh, come on. And then
here's Allah.
Exactly.
Well, you're talking about like susceptible, but then again, I don't know if you're comfortable with me sending this podcast, but I think you just spent £200 on Pokemon cards, so let's not talk about how susceptible you are.
Hey,
Oh no.
brother. Now
Oh no.
you know when I come onto this podcast, okay, I like to give the listeners a little bit of some nuggets. I like to give them nuggets, okay? Because look, as you said, it's a lockdown, and every time I come on here, I give them a bit of investment advice. You know, last time I said get some Power Ranger helmets, get some like vintage toys, collect those. Like, don't go for Bitcoin, don't go for any of that silly stuff. Look at this right here. See what I got in my hand right here? There's 20 quid.
You know what I like? The two money-saving experts in the UK are you and my man Martin Lewis. And Martin Lewis is like, listen, put it in ISIS, join a credit union, and you're
ISIS, like, put it in ISIS?
Yeah. Martin Lewis has a hidden agenda. Yeah, he's like, put it in bonds, put it in long-term investments, and you're like, listen, get yourself a lightsaber and you'll be all right. You spent, over lockdown, £200 on Pokemon cards?
So I'll tell you the story. I spent £250 on 2 boxes of Pokemon cards. Those boxes each are now worth £1,000. Or no, not each, sorry, together. They're now worth £1,000. And it was a solid. Now I opened one of the boxes, and in one of the boxes was 5 Charizards, okay? Now that might...
I don't know what that is. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Oh boy, you're going to want to when I tell you, okay? The Charizard cards are the most valuable cards in Pokemon. This one in particular, if it gets graded a 10, is worth $6,000. Probably can't see it there.
What do you mean if it gets graded a 10? By who?
So there's a company called PSA who are the official graders of Pokemon cards. They give your card a 10. Look, hey, it's been a busy few weeks since I've last chatted to you, my brother.
So
okay?
you need this company to basically say to you, like, that's a 10?
Yeah, now look, if it gets a 9, you're still talking $1,000 or $2,000. If it gets an 8, you're talking maybe about $500-600.
See, when you say this is worth $6,000, who the fuck is paying? Who would pay that for that card? You. I mean, I've answered my own question.
No, dickheads would do it because fucking. Here's the thing: I'm smart about it.
What I'm saying is this, right? I understand people like buying and trading cards, all that kind of thing. Totally get it. I love nothing more than opening up a pack of football Premier League stickers.
Premier League stickers, I was going to say, you are a Premier League sticker boy.
Yeah, not anymore. I'm a 32-year-old man who only.
Oh, you would still do. I'm telling you, I see if your wife for Christmas this year got you a Premier League sticker book with like 20 packets, you'd lose your mind, guaranteed.
Well, yeah, then I'm in. That's why anytime you buy, like, anytime you see a newspaper giving away the World Cup sticker album, yes, I'll do it.
Okay, yeah, that's okay.
But the only thing is, you can't trade cards. It's not as easy to trade cards because you know what I mean. You got to do that thing of like, you got to buy a plain white shirt and black trousers in Tesco's. You got to buy black shoes. You got to crouch and you got to go into schools, into the playground, and be like, psst, I'm here in the bushes, and the kid's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I'm gonna swap you a Neymar for a Danny Alves is what I'm gonna do. And hopefully that's not code for it. So people are like, I can't believe you said swap a Neymar. You don't want to know what that means. But yeah, I mean that would there's definitely a sketch in that of a guy who just completely looks like a pedo. And they're like, what are you doing in there? God, Nate, what?
You can be in that one.
Yeah. Remember we did that sketch, not about pedophiles. Remember we did that sketch, me, you, and Aaron McCann about Pokemon Go. That was a brilliant sketch.
That got a lot of good hits as well, and people were like, "Yeah, that was good fun." It's crazy.
It was like a real life Pikachu. Remember?
Yeah, and he was like just playing it like a real straight man, but all we would hear is like him going Pika Pika. That was enjoyable. But yeah, it's the craziest franchise because like I'm not like into it or anything. I like collecting these cards because they're worth money and I like money. But over 20 years, it's like apparently one of the biggest franchises still in the world, like bigger than like Star Wars and Avengers and all these ones. Like it's massive money.
So here's the thing. So I am obviously like slagging you for liking Pokemon, all that kind of thing. But I gotta be honest with you. If you're asking the question, have I bought Pokemon cards before? The answer is yes. But
really?
Let me prefix it with this.
All right.
I was in Mallorca on a family holiday whenever I was
I remember
What age,
this.
what age would Pokemon have been peak? Would we have been
Like
about
11, 12. 12, 13 for you, yeah.
11? Okay, 12, 13. And I was in Mallorca, and you know one of the like tat shops. You know a shop that sells sun cream, towels, Lay's crisps, and like some toys. I was in
Yep.
one of those shops. Also, that reminds me of on my stag do. Whenever Dave was a little bit upset because his first daughter Holly had not been born that long after him going away, and he was a bit upset, and we were all drunk. And I took him to one of those shops and bought him a baby doll, and then as a joke, because I was like, "This will cheer you up. This terrifying, haunting plastic doll will in some way replace your daughter." And then I gave it to Dave because he was missing his daughter, and then he just carried it about. And we were in BCM nightclub, and DJ Sammy was playing, and Dave was just standing on the dance floor cradling a €10 baby. But
I'll tell you a better part of that. The fact that I was away from you guys that part of the night, and then the next morning, the next morning, I obviously didn't see the transaction of the baby. I go into Dave's room to check up on him, and he's lying in bed with this wee plastic doll in his hand. And I just looked and went, that must have been a mad night. Those guys I don't know what happened, and I don't want to know.
Dave was so fucked up, he adopted. So I'm in Mallorca, okay?
Yeah.
I'm in one of these shops. A bit like you, I see this packet of Pokemon cards, and I think, Martin Lewis, money saving expert. I'm like, if I buy these, I can sell them for a lot back home, because Pokemon cards were, I don't know, £2 or whatever for a pack.
Yeah.
These were like the equivalent to 50p. You were talking pesetas. Like I was going in there loaded with pesetas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I used to call them potatoes, which is very, very, very cute. But probably at 12, 13, too old to be doing that. But anyway, I was going in with like 700 potatoes. And I bought about 10 packets of these cards. Now, what attracted me to these cards is they were shiny Pokemon cards, all of them.
That's how you know it's fake.
Wait, well, tell me, get in a time machine, go back to Mallorca in, 2000 and tell me then, because Manuel got me in hook, line, and sinker. I went in, I bought all these cards, I put them in my suitcase, got home, went down to the estate, White City in Hollywood, armed with dozens of these shiny Pokemon cards, and I just stood in West Green, which is like used to be a big grass pitch, and just waited. I just stood around the flats and I just waited. And then all of a sudden, I think a lot of the kids smelt it. They smelt the cards.
Oh no!
And they came out, and this guy, I think he was called, and he was into his Pokemon cards, and he goes, "Here, can I buy these off you?" And I bought the cards for 50p, and I said, "They're yours for £5." He makes me a counter offer. This 100% true story, which I've never told on a podcast, and I haven't told you this bit of it. He said, because I forgot this bit of it until now, he goes, "Oh, I don't have a £5, but I'll swap you it for a wrestling figure." Now I'm thinking, okay, I'm open to offers, because then I can maybe flip the wrestling figure, sell that for some potatoes. So he comes out with the wrestler Viscera.
Oh no!
Remember, big fat black guy in a leather jacket.
Yep, Black Dave.
And he comes out. He comes out, and he goes, "Here's Viscera." So I take it. He gave me Viscera on £2.50. I make my way off. This guy's uncle I'll have to beat this. This guy's uncle, I think, was let's just say, in the adult Bad Boy Scouts. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I can get what you're saying. Yeah.
I think he met up with a bunch of other guys for activities that wouldn't have necessarily been not shooting people. So the uncle then basically came out to me and went,
with a gun,
these are fake. And I said, they're actually not, because I bought them from a shop in Mallorca. And then he just peeled them like a sticker, and the shiny bit came off, just this cardboard white background or whatever. And I went, "Oh, can I get my money back?" And he went, "No." And I had to walk on. So I lost all the stickers. I lost my dignity. I lost quite a lot of my kneecap. And I lost the Pokemon cards.
Well, I think that's a good lesson for you, though, to have early on in business. You know what I mean? You learned that, so for example, it's better to do that than to be like 22 years old and, make some sort of
Yeah.
misjudgment. So I
I
think
also
that,
got I got really fucked over in a business deal as well.
of course.
I had this Mercedes car in P7 in school. Like not like not like a
No, not,
not like
yeah.
I wasn't driving in to Strandtown Primary School in a C class. I had this wee toy. It was cool. A guy called Ross in my class was in the cars. He liked it. He said, "Can I buy that off you?" I said, "Yes, you can." Again, £2.50 seemed to be the only currency I knew. I was like, £2.50. He bought it off me. I arrive back home that day after school. I have £2.50. My dad goes, "Where'd you get that?" I said, "I sold Ross one of the toy cars." My dad made us drive up to his house, which to be fair was only a few streets away, and give him the money back. And I got the car back. And I was like, that's sly because that's just a good deal. You know what I mean?
What was upsetting your dad about the deal? Did he not like the value you were getting?
I think he fancied the fella's mum, so he wanted to just go up to the house and chat to
Oh, which is good going. He went the next day. He's like, "Fucking, do you want that back?"
her. Yeah.
He's like, just buying and selling every day. So, here, do you know how much an original packet then? So, if you had a sealed packet of original Pokemon cards that cost £2 in 1999,
Yeah.
that's currently worth £1,000 minimum. Minimum.
So if somebody had a box of
If
20 in their roof space,
If you had an original box sealed, so say for example you bought a big box in bulk I believe it was about 75 quid back then to buy one, that currently is worth 40 grand.
just think like surely there's news agents sitting there being like
Wait, I've
somewhere in
checked
the
the old
back.
storerooms. Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens. People now are like searching houses and searching. People are getting in touch with like the old manufacturers who used to make it. And like, if you were a staff member that worked there, they're like hunting you down, being like, "Did you get any of those cards?" Like, you know what I mean? It is insane. But look, it's all
My
good.
my cousin Michael thought he had old Star. There was a thing on Blue Peter basically years ago saying if you have all these old Star Wars figures, your original, they're worth X amount of money, and there was a big clamor to go and see what you had. And he thought he had
Yeah.
some up in the roof space. Went into his roof space, and in some roof spaces you can only stand in certain parts of it.
Hmm.
Otherwise you're going to go through. Then he went up to his roof space, and all I heard was, "I got one." And then all of a sudden, he just stood on his. He was up, and I think he either shouted like, "I got one," or "I can't find any," and then he fell through the roof, but onto his bed. This is what.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. No one really believed the story at the time. He fell through the ceiling, but landed perfectly on his back in his own bed, which was a single bed. You know what I mean? It's not like he hit a bit of the bed.
That sounds very suspect.
I promise you, it's 1,000% true.
How thin was his roof?
I mean, that's a question for him. We could find out for next week on the podcast.
Maybe, yeah, I'd look into that. So, here, you aren't really a collectible guy, then. You like, I don't think you have like anything that you're like, "Oh yeah, I like collecting
I
these or
do.
that." Oh, really? Oh, is it like old football chops,
No,
football shoes?
undetonated World War II bombs. You wouldn't believe the amount I keep in my shed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I just like I think it's a safe thing because they're from World War II, so they're not going to go off. But
Mm.
I would actually go run because I like to go running and like a bit of a challenge. I would
Ah,
throw quite a few in like a weighted vest. I would throw quite a few like undetonated grenades and stuff for the Second
grenades.
World War and run around with those.
Mm.
Um,
Don't know if
but so
that's
I
that
mean,
safe.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
it's been okay so far. But and actually, I was talking to some guys on a forum that were into it too. And one of the guys, he just found one and he was carrying it home. And I haven't spoke to him in a few months now. But actually, he's due to get back to me. But I think
Mm.
he,
Probably just on a
yeah,
long run.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not really into collecting stuff because I can't like hold things. So if I knew something I had was like a Pokemon card was really valuable, I just sell it straight away. I don't like the idea of
Right.
collecting. I do collect old football shirts, but that's kind of it. But then I do wear those, so there's nothing I'm really like. There's nothing I would collect and then just store away.
When you collected Premier League stickers, were you the type of person to like you have to fill the book,
Yeah.
or you like did you ever go? I remember they used to do. I think it was at the King's Hall. They used to do the sticker swap place there. Is that right? Do you know what I mean?
So Kieran Bartlett, who was on the podcast this week, but in an older podcast we did, an older tea with me, some sippers will remember, we were talking about the Premier League swap shop at King's Hall, which was basically, it was unreal. Merlin ran it, the people who made the Premier League sticker album.
Yes.
And it was, you would go, they had every sticker in the book and millions of copies of them, and you could swap any of yours for specific ones you needed. And it was towards the end of the book, so everybody went mad for it. Here's the thing, I was in the queue for this and I couldn't contain my excitement to the point where, I think I was in P6, where I just projectile vomited in the queue. And my mum was taking me back to the car, and on my way back I was all white and like and all frail, and on my way back I don't know why this sticks out, there was people there giving out promotional packs of Korean cheese slices, and a woman was like, "Do you want some Korean cheese?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I just remember going back to the car very faint but with a lot of cheese. And I remember thinking, every cloud.
I like to think it's fucking. I mean, I would say it's probably a great thing you don't collect things if that's how your first experience has ended up fucking throwing up with excitement and then eating a belly full of cheese. I like to think you got the little single bits of cheese and we're trying to swap them for stickers.
You know what I? Yeah.
You're like, I'll trade you.
The guy's just really pale.
Yeah, I've got an extra mature for a burger.
Basically, the idea of collecting things now, right? What I would love to, what I like at the people, I'm interested in people that collect watches, watch collections. I like seeing people's watch collections.
My dad has one, yeah.
What, a watch or a watch collection?
Collection.
See, I love that. I find that really interesting, but I would never justify, no matter how much money I was making, like sitting on that much money on just a watch. Like watches really mean nothing to me, to the point where like the watch I wear a lot of time is an Accurist one that I got in Argos in London for 14 quid.
Do you know I'm not a watch guy because the time's on your phone? Is that weird?
It's not weird. I mean, you don't. I think in 2020 you don't really need a watch. Like, who needs to know the time that quickly that they can't just get something out of the pocket and look at? Like, who is like, honestly, I need to be able to just slightly turn my wrist to see the time. I don't think anyone really. So, but I think it is obviously a real nice fashion accessory. See, when I first started wearing watches, I liked wearing big watches because you're
how big?
Oh, like somewhere between a Casio and a grandfather clock. I remember someone got me a fake Breitling watch, but I was like, is this real? Because I didn't know Brett. I was like 15 or something, and I was like, is this real? And the person who got me it was like, I don't know. And I went, right, and then I left it in a drawer, and then about 6-7 years ago I took it to a jeweler in, let's say Belfast, for example, and
he was like, those Pokemon cards are fake, and so's that watch.
and I said, hold on, I took a bit of brie out of my pocket and went, what about this? So I said to I brought it into a jeweler, and I said, I got given this watch years ago. I don't know if it's real or not. The strap's broken. If it's real, can I just get it like repaired? And also, could you value it for me? And the guy was like, it's not real and you shouldn't have this because it's a counterfeit watch and stuff. And he was really serious. And I just had to basically back out of the shop and just get away quickly.
When he says you can't have it, like, is that because it was stolen?
No, I think it was just fake. But I think his point is like, fake watches are so bad. I don't know. At the end of the day, see people that wear like fake clothes. Like, you see a lot of people running about. See, if you see a fella running about Belfast in a Stone Island jacket, it's not real.
Yeah,
it's not real. There's probably 3 guys in Northern Ireland with Stone Island jacket. Because who can afford a £400 fucking zip up?
Me, Mickey Bartlett, and who's the other one?
Kieran.
Kieran. Yes, we all three own those jackets.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can definitely see a fella and be like, I don't know if that is Gucci, mate, because Gucci is
Yeah.
not spelled. There's no J in Gucci. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
there's two C's. Yeah.
But at the same time, some people look at that and they're like, "Oh my god!" But that's made in a sweatshop and all, and like that probably comes from like slave labor. And I'm like, yeah, but so does the real one.
Yeah.
You know, like fake Air Max. Okay, well, some people can't afford very, very nice, expensive trainers, so they get the
Mhm.
fake version that are probably made in the same fucking village.
Yep. And there's barely any difference between them, but
But here's
it's
what I'm saying: would you
mm.
wear a fake? What about like? Would you buy a fake Rolex? Would you wear a fake Rolex? And if you did, would you tell people that it was? If they asked, would you tell them it was fake?
I mean, if I wore a fake Rolex, yeah, I wouldn't be flaunting around going as a joke. I'd maybe be like, "Here, check that out." And then whenever they were like, "Oh my god," and I'd be like, "No, here, it's only a fake." So I would let the joke happen, and then I'd be like, "But really, it's a fake." But who? Why? I was going to say, why would you wear a fake Rolex? But then you made the point that if you can't afford it, you're like, here's. Don't know though. Like we probably think a bit differently. Where it's like we don't associate. Like I'm trying to think of the best
I
way to
think
put
I
this
think
into
what I
terms.
think what you're about to say is we don't associate, um, like I know
Like if
exactly what you're
yeah,
saying.
if you have a Rolex, I don't care. Like I
Yes,
don't like what like if
it's
you're a
not a
nice
sign of success, thus.
yeah. Well, not even that, but because it kind of is in a way. Like, but although like you get people. Like it's strange, right? Because perception and social media creates this whole illusion. Like, for example, if you see someone driving a Land Rover, you're like, oh my God, they can afford to drive a Land Rover. But what you really don't know is they've taken that out over a 3-year lease agreement. They have to hand it back and they pay £200 a month or whatever, and they don't actually own it type thing. You know what I mean? So
100%.
then, so then you kind of can't, in a way, it looks like successful, but in some other ways, you got to be skeptical too. But then what I think the point I'm trying to make is, regardless if you have a Rolex, where you have a big house, where you have a nice fancy car, it doesn't stop you. What really comes down to, are you a nice, good person? And that's that. Like those items don't define that per se.
Yeah, and also a lot of the people a lot of like really successful people will not wear like a fancy watch. You know,
Us,
yeah, us. I
yeah.
remember where I had my watch on, and I was at like a party or a bar, and I was chatting to people, and somebody I know was like said something about my watch being tacky, and was like, we get it. You've got an expensive watch, but to wear that like that and that kind of style is like, are you just trying to show people
Mm.
that you've got money? Now it depends what your definition of you've got money is. But also I just soaked it up. I soaked it up, and the guy's like, you're spending all that money on a watch, and then I just dropped the bomb where I was like, this costs £70.
Mm.
This is a fossil watch. It just happens to be gold. You know what I mean? And then I think that stopped me wearing like a flashy type watch,
Yeah,
even
nice
though it
stuff.
wasn't in
Yeah.
any way dear. Like, I think even, and this is a weird conversation, but see with like clothing and stuff, I'm
Mm.
really going towards, now no one listens to this podcast for me to talk about fashion. I'm
Right.
really going towards wearing solid colored, very basic clothes.
Yeah, and like I know I have some very exotic jackets, but if I ever
Yeah.
like I'm not wearing those, it's usually stuff like this jumper where it's just plain because I just can't be arsed thinking about all that. I'd rather just, you know what I mean?
Like whenever I was, well, maybe not until that long ago, I definitely saw or fell victim a bit to things have to be like a brand name. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, if I want to have that logo on something, or like
Mm,
maybe I could get that. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I look at stuff with brand names on it, and I'm like, like a big Gucci. I've used Gucci as an example twice, but like some sort of Gucci T-shirt and don't get me wrong, if you're like, listen, I just love this style, then
mm.
great, that I understand that. But if you're like, I need to have that brand on this, I think it just stands out to me. And maybe it's getting older or something. There's just something where I'm like, nah.
No, I think it is a bit strange behavior. Like, so I did my degree was in marketing, and we sort of learned all about that. Like, brands create this sense of you need to have it or you want, you know what I mean? And like fashion brands, especially, are all about that because when you break it down, the material is always the same material. You know what I mean? It's like you're paying for the name, and cars to an extent too are like that. But yeah, I think we're just not those guys that are like, oh, wouldn't it be great to have this one or that one or whatever? It's just, is it a nice fit? Is it, do I look all right in it? Great.
Yeah, it's funny how over time, like as you just get a little bit older, your attitude to so much changes.
Well, you mature and you also think, especially this year where you're like, where's the wisest things to spend my money on? Like, if I spend X amount of money on this, would it be better placed buying like a MacBook or something like, oh, if we got a little bit of interruption there, is that
baby not by himself, but craning his head in here. Live to the
oh,
podcast. Grounded.
oh dear.
Grounded.
Be careful,
Don't
he'd beat
smile.
you up.
Don't smile. Grounded until Christmas. And we'll have to speak to Santa. Yeah, he is 4 months old today. Happy birthday.
Yeah, I met him. I met him for the first time when we last met up a few weeks ago. We went for a nice walk, and we introduced to your baby, and big baby. But let's get that out of the way first. Big guy, all right. Now, you at one point you were like, "Hold on, I have to feed him here." And when you reached into the bag, I thought you were going to pull out like 2 well done steaks. I was like, this baby's going to fucking have a full steak dinner here.
You thought I was bringing out a Belgium. By the way, what happened there is my wife didn't know I was actually recording a podcast at the minute, but we do this really funny thing where if someone's like in another room, like doing something like fairly important, what you do is you like bring the baby quietly up the hall, and then you just like hold his wee head around the door so it looks like he's peering in, and it looks like he's our height. And I don't know why, but there's nothing funnier in the world to me than that. There's nothing funnier. It's just like,
that's hilarious.
Hello. Yeah, I want to run 2 things. I want to run 2 things by you here. One of which is I want us to look at some moral dilemmas. And I want to find out like what kind of people are we?
Oh dear, this could be cancelled.
We'll do some listeners' questions, but before we do that, let's just get into this. So I'm going to throw these scenarios at you. I'll do it for myself, and we'll just answer honestly.
Okay.
You live in a remote village that is being ransacked by a notorious group of people. Paramilitaries. Already dozens of people from your village are brutally killed. You're hiding in a room with 25 people with a baby in your arms. By keeping quiet, your fellow villagers will be able to live. The raiders are coming nearby, and your baby starts crying uncontrollably. As they come closer, you're put in a dilemma of either brutally killing the child to preserve the lives of yourself and the other people in the room, or otherwise you can let your child cry, give away your location and everyone else in the room, and have everyone else in the room murdered. What would you do?
So let me break this down. If you kill the baby, everyone survives, but if you don't kill the baby, everyone dies.
Yeah.
So if you kill the baby, everyone survives. If you don't kill the baby,
I'm not even mulling this over. The last words everyone's going to hear are "my bad."
Yeah. But what? Well, yeah. Hold on, you have to do it. I was going to say, what if they just start killing your baby so they can survive? But it's.
Nah, that's not the question. I think you're going to die either way. So, do you want to just be killed by the bad people, and not have that on your hands, or?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, let's say, for example, you did kill the child. You've then to live the rest of your life knowing you killed your own child. And so when it comes down to that, I think everyone just has to take a hit.
Yeah, from the notorious bad people in the village. Yeah, that's not what. Yeah. Nobody would be able to just do that and be like, "Thank that was a close call." You know what I mean?
I hear, and that's coming from me too, the guy who isn't the big child fan.
You're a train conductor, and beyond the distance lies your niece playing on the tracks. I mean,
and Huckleberry Todd right next to her, flipping coins at her.
You're going too fast and the brake lines have failed completely. However, there just so happens to be an alternate track, but there are 7 teenagers on the other track, one who's gotten stuck with 6 others frantically trying to help, but are in very close proximity, and you have just enough time whether or not to pull a lever and switch tracks. What do? Stay on the main tracks and kill your niece, or shift to the other track and kill the 7 teenagers? Hey, I'm not going to take a breath and just tell you, those teenagers. Surely that, I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds harsh, but that's an easy choice.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to family, they always come first, really.
Yeah, and like yeah, because 7 lives, but 7 people you don't know, or 1 person who is family. Like,
Well, here's one that'll change it up a little bit and make it a bit more difficult. Okay, you see a little girl who isn't family and
right,
is 6 years old,
yeah,
and you see a group of 4 teenagers who are like 15 years old.
it's one of those ones I
That's
think
tough.
where if you had said adults, it's different, but like if you say adults, you say like, okay, well they've like got the experience, like more of life.
Mm.
Whereas somebody younger, like you never know what way their life's gonna go.
When it's a little girl, doesn't it make it so much more difficult? Like if it
It's
was all just lads, you'd be
so
like, all
difficult.
right.
Do you maybe just like, no joke, do you maybe just like close your eyes, spin around a couple of times and just pull a lever and be like, or do you stay on the track that you're on? Because if you switch, then that is more of a, you've made a decision than just staying on the one you are, if that makes sense.
But by not making a decision, you're actively making a decision.
I
I like your idea of making it random and just flipping a
I
coin.
think I saved the 6-year-old in the heat of the moment.
Tough luck. Yeah, I just flip a coin and whoever gets it gets it.
Okay, you're on a cruise line far from land and the ship starts to sink. You're now treading water as lifeboats are quickly being filled up. Luckily, you're able to find the last lifeboat and get on. There are still 2 more spots left, but unfortunately, you see people are still in the water. There is an elderly man, a young boy, a sailor who can navigate the sea, a pregnant woman in her 2nd trimester, and a doctor. You're far from the shoreline with no sense of direction where to go. You also feel sick. Which 2 do you choose? So the elderly man, the young boy, the sailor, the pregnant woman, and the doctor.
They're all in the water,
Yep. You
and
can
we're
save
on
2
the
of them.
ship, and we can save
Yep.
2 of them.
Yep.
Elderly man, pregnant lady,
Y-
sailor, captain.
young boy, sailor, and doctor.
Look, fuck. You have if you want to survive, you're going to have to save the sailor, right? Because you can't get back to shore without him.
But depends, it's not saying like you're going to sink if you don't have someone that can navigate the sea. I think if you're on a cruise line and it's going to sink, then that is going to alert so many Coast
Mm.
Guard type people, no matter where you are in the world. I'm saving the young boy and the pregnant woman.
Yeah, I'd probably do the same thing because here's my thinking. The sailor has a good knowledge of water. You know what I mean? He probably, even though he's not on a boat, he's probably like, I can float my way back somewhere. Brings, the old, I mean, look, the old man's gone. I'm sorry.
Nah, he
He's
never had a chance.
Yeah. Look, it's all good. Tell us where your Pokemon cards are. We collect them and you just float down there. But yeah,
He's
I think that
done.
was a pretty straightforward one.
Yeah, the sailor, like that's probably the best way for him to go. Like I'm sure that's what he
Oh,
would want.
yeah.
And the doctor, like it depends if he's like, oh, I'm a doctor, by the way. Oh no, I don't like that you've said that. But at the same time, do people need medical assistance on the boat? I mean, I think that answer is trying to drag you towards the pregnant woman and the doctor. But like the pregnant
Mm.
woman has 2 lives, so already you're safe. The young boy is safe. The sailor has a chance. The doctor and the elderly man, I'm sorry, but like you guys are fucking done.
Plus, what if the doctor's not even like a really great doctor? What if he's just like someone that like looks at elbows or something? You know what I mean? Or it's just a real niche sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's like, I'm a doctor. What do you do? Like a Botox?
Um. Okay, last one. You're a paramedic who's a week away from marriage. You're called to the scene of an accident. You arrive and are in shock to see your fiance in the car. Your fiance's badly hurt. The only thing you can hear him or her say is, "I'm very sorry," before he or she is knocked unconscious. Clueless to what they meant, you find another person in the passenger seat and notice a picture of them in a very risque position and realize your fiance was having an affair with this person. The person's badly hurt, will probably die if not given medical attention immediately. Both are in need of medical attention. You can only save one. Who do you attend to first, your fiance or the person your fiance is with behind your back?
I mean, the my immediate brain just goes to the fiance because you've obviously more time invested with them, spent with them. You know, you don't know the whole situation.
Can I tell you my answer?
Go ahead.
I just walk away. I think if you do the Hippocratic Oath and the person is going to die, but the fiance isn't, you kind of are going to have to go to that person. It depends what sort of facial expression he has. You know what I mean? Like if it's your fiance, and if the guy's like he shows remorse and all, like the way he's lying there. But if he's like this in the passenger seat, you know, if he's giggling, you know what I mean? If he's like, you know,
Yeah.
like if he has a big cheesy grin on him, you know, he's dead. He's dead.
Yeah. Well, so I thought both of them were going to die, but if the fiance's not going to die, and then
It depends. Like, what if he what if he what if he laughs at you and all when you're working on him? He's like, yeah, she loves it.
Yeah, he's got a big root and all. You're like, fuck's sake, get that away. Trying fucking
Yeah,
trying to get a vein. He's like, here, don't worry, there's plenty of blood pumping through this one.
I think I figured out from that we're both great guys.
Yeah. Oh, if there's one thing we know is that we're both great people.
I think we did the right thing. Okay, so we've got questions from a lot of sippers. Mark McBride, last podcast, my brother said you reminded him of Johan Cruyff. Any chance you're related or share footballing ability? So yes, I do look a lot like Johan Cruyff. Aaron, I don't know if you know this. There's a picture of Johan Cruyff in a Barcelona shirt, and we have the same face. Do we share footballing ability? I mean, listen, Johan Cruyff's one of the best players of all time. All I've done is score a world-class goal at Seaview, past former Northern Ireland international and Premier League goalkeeper Alan Blaney, in front of a packed Seaview, set up by Jim Magilton, but killed the ball dead when first touch and then chipped him with a left. But I would say this, I am very good with the Cruyff turn, ironically. The Cruyff turn would be one of my favourite tricks. And I haven't used it in a while, but I have it in the locker. Like.
I don't know who Johan Cruyff is, so I tried to Google just to see like a wee photo, and I ended up Googling Joan Cruyff. So not quite the same. She died in 1940, but
that's sad.
It probably still looks like you because you look like a lot of people.
Yeah, especially like an old woman from 1940.
Yeah. Do I have any football doppelgangers? No.
Daniel Amakachi.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Patrick Quinn says, and by the way, Patrick Quinn is Belfast guy in China, says, which one charity would you love to raise money for? An idea could be limited edition merchandise, like it's my duty to please that booty, and if found, please return to the pub, which we talked about recently. What am I like? T-shirts, things like that. That way you raise lots of money and loads of guys will pull very easily. Well, that is true. Like that's very much an upside of it because we know that all international players wear T-shirts that say things like, boob inspector and all that kind of stuff. What charity would I love to raise money for? I like that this may be a cheesy answer, but I like that whenever we do the charity gigs in the likes of the Limelight, when all the comedians get together and we were doing them sort of like for a year, like every couple of months. I like doing them for charities, like well-known sort of charities, Marie Curie, that kind of thing. But then also what was so cool about the gigs we were doing is they were for like specific causes for like the family of someone who needed something. So what's so good about that is, listen, obviously anytime you make a donation to a charity, it's a massive benefit to them. But whenever it's like an individual or a family who needs something and you're able to be like, here's 100% of the money, that always feels great. So like any of the ones we've done have been for fantastic causes. Like there's been none where I'm like, nah, I'm not comfortable with this because this is just for Dave to get, class, like really nice jackets or whatever. So there's so many charities that I would like to, and we will do stuff for. How much would you love to just do one of those like big gigs again with just everyone, just all like if social distancing wasn't a thing, just everyone backstage, like doing what we do, like circle tug and just boys getting the shirts off and just having the time of it.
Yeah, just man, so much like it's almost weird how for granted we took it, just being able to be in the same room together.
Yeah, and I think, fingers crossed, I think in December we're going to be able to do obviously socially distanced responsible shows, but I think in December we're going to be able to do stuff, so that will be a lot of fun.
Fingers crossed.
One Flying Irishman says, in old news footage from the 50s and 60s, why do the interviewers and sometimes the people being interviewed put on this weird half posh English, half Northern Ireland accent? Did they really talk like that back then, or was it the 50s version of fake news? Fake news. I think they really did talk like that on TV and stuff because people were probably embarrassed about regional accents, and everything you saw on TV was probably like from London, posh people from London. So eventually when they're like, okay, you can have local TV channels and all that kind of thing, no one probably wants to be, you're probably just impersonating the people that you've seen. I mean, it makes sense to me, but like everyone was like, "Hey, we are here in Belfast at the scene of the crime." It is like that, but I'm sure people didn't actually talk like that. But yeah, whenever I did the TV show, obviously previously, which the last episode is on tonight, if you're listening to this on Friday, or it's on the iPlayer, 10:45 BBC One. A lot of the voices were the same, and I mean that really, in a way, hasn't changed in that people still very much have like newsreader TV voices.
But strange in
I find
itself.
that weird, yeah, because like
it's
when they do the radio news, it's like welcome to the news at 12:30, blah blah blah, da 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 da, and I'm like, I don't understand why that.
Like, what did you freeze on me? No, you're still there. What I don't understand about it is where did it come from, but who is still the person in charge today? If you ever audition for radio, going, look, this is what it needs to sound like. Like, do they focus group like what Northern Ireland people, the rhythm that we need? You know what I mean? Like, no one ever does something different.
Yeah, like no one comes on. Like they're like, 12 o'clock. It's time for the news on BBC Radio Ulster. Boop boop boop. All right, bro.
Well, mate.
Well, the traffic on the West Link's fucking hectic, bro. Avoid it, the fuck. And weather, it's gonna be fucking Baltic.
And politics, the Shinners are still fucking it up, for fuck's sake. I would enjoy that. Like, there needs to be a Northern Ireland alternative news that like is just fucking real.
Everything's fucked, bro. My pop's melted.
It's 11 plus a shit.
What's happening with Trump and all, mate? That's fucking nuts and all, mate. My dome's fucking done. Economy's
bollocks. Fucking cigarettes. 20p a fucking.
Anyway, here's Cecilia Daly will wear. Matthew Mernon says, are there any Northern Ireland brands that Corey Flames would never work with? Yes, obviously top Instagram influencer, Corey Flames. Any brands he wouldn't work with? I don't think so. I think he would claim that there are, like, he would have ethics and maybe like companies who test products on animals, all that kind of thing. But then if he's the shallow influencer, I think like if you were to offer him like double the money, like 40 quid for a campaign, I think he would be like, yeah, no problem, we can make that work. I think he would say, I'll get back to you and see if we can make it work. And then 3 minutes later, he'd message you and go, we can make it work. Connor Diver Big Zipper, regular listener of the show, says, if one of you guys got voted as president, what would
Oh,
what would be 2 new laws you would pass? So
my
let's presume
yeah.
that's President of America.
Yeah, my first law would be no one over the age of 50 is allowed to be president.
Right? You just want young guys that are capable of, like, walking and not being
Yeah,
old.
yeah, just someone who doesn't have dementia or someone that doesn't tell you to drink bleach as a medical solution. I think that's a great baseline. Maybe not 50-50, maybe 55-60.
Right, right. I mean, anyone who's over that age listening now is like, "Fuck you, Mr. Butler."
You're
But
retirement age. So like
okay.
if you're past retirement age, you're not allowed to be a politician.
Well, here's one I'd go for. I don't know how this would go down. Gay marriage. I have a pretty strong stance on that.
Against it.
No, compulsory.
Yeah. I want conversion therapy for straight guys.
Yep, 100%. Just
And
like
it turns them gay. if you've committed like some sort of abusive crime on another sex, like you just get converted to the other sex.
imagine like trolling like real life conversion therapist weirdos and going in and being like, "All right, mate, listen, can you work your magic on me? I really need to get this turned around." And the guy's like, "Don't worry, we'll make you straight." And I'm like, "No, I think you got the wrong idea.
Yeah,
I'm looking to get in the
boo-boo.
game.
Yeah.
I'm looking to convert to homosexuality."
I'm looking to invest in the cock market, if you know what I'm saying. The funniest part about that is if you know what I'm saying, because clearly you know what I'm saying.
Ball Street.
Good.
Instead of stocks and shares, cocks and bears.
Oh, that was good.
Wow, Oren Kane gets in touch and says, "Can you judge my house's pumpkins that we made?" I think they're very good, but they're almost too good to the point where I'm like, you might be a serial killer because they are very good.
Oh yeah, a lot of real. That was time well spent.
What I like is you've done four, and they're all different. You know what I mean? Like they're all traditional pumpkins, but what I like is you've done something a little bit different with all the eyes and the mouths, and yeah, I think really good, man. Enjoy it. We should have done rate my pumpkin last
My
week
pumpkin.
on the podcast.
Oh wow.
Bobby C. Wright says, "Teach us something we didn't know." Do you have a fact or anything, or do you have like something that people wouldn't know? I'll tell you one. Bob Marley. A lot of people say, "Where is Bob Marley born?" People, "Oh, Jamaica." Bob Marley was born in Ethiopia.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
I don't even know if he was for sure, but I think he is.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe fact check that a little bit. I'm trying to think if I know anything that's unique. I mean, not off the top of my head, but I'm sure I do.
Well, you've enlightened us a lot about Pokemon on this episode.
That is a big one.
Damien McGrain said, "Do you think the Statue of Liberty and Big Ben would be a good couple?"
I mean, not really, because Big Ben's it's basically a dildo for her.
Yes, and she already
Like,
has one.
True. Yeah, that thing she holds, yeah. The freedom dildo.
I don't know, like the Albert clock and Big Ben might be more suited, and that's same-sex marriage, so that's what I'm all
That's
about.
it. That's a progressive. Yep, we're all about progressive relationships.
Christy Hunter says, "Where do you even get or listen to podcasts? Why am I such a tech granny?" Well, then you probably won't be listening to this on the podcast, if that makes sense. So I don't know why I'm going to answer this, but so I'd be better just replying to the message. But where do you even get or listen to podcasts? The internet. I mean, come on now, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just a marketing opportunity. Speaking of Corey Flames, that is not a question for the podcast. I got asked, I'm not going to jump the gun with this, but I have been asked about my about my availability for something. Like, would I be interested in a thing? And this is so dicky, but I'm going to message you in the comments of this chat and say, somebody was like, "Is this a brand you like? Could we have a chat about it?"
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it.
And my response was, yes, we could. So I hope to update people on what that is. And if that becomes a thing, I'm retiring from comedy and I'm only focusing on that.
Oh, I'm excited for that one more than anything in your career.
I think you'll benefit from that as well, my friend.
Oh yeah, I'm going to see a lot of returns on that one.
Jack Chapman says, well, I read this way worse than it was. He said, a petition to hang Boris Johnson from his undies by a flagpole. Discuss. I thought this said a petition to hang Boris Johnson by a flagpole, but by his undies makes it like the Beano or Dennis the Menace. It's funnier. I mean,
for a laugh, for a bit of a prank. Is it like a prank?
Yeah, is he going to be all like I don't know enough about politics to be like, okay, I get Tory government or don't want kids to have meals, but I've never met Boris Johnson. I can't say I like a lot of the politics that I've seen from him, but yeah, I think if it was like a wedgie type thing and a little bit of fun and he enjoyed it, yes, sure.
I mean, I was going to say I don't think he'll agree to it, but he also does have that side to him where he's like, get a wee drink into him. He could get a wee bit like in his Tory days when he was in college and they were probably all bucking pigs and all. He's probably like, get me on that flagpole. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Might be a bit of fun. I don't know. Start a petition. I don't know. I mean, I don't know at all. I'm not a petition guy.
I look big fan of Boris over here. They're still supplying the self-employment fund grant, and I am just living on that really at the minute. So keep doing the great work, boys.
Oh, is your mate? Oh, Boris.
Oh, a big fan.
So you be a big Tory guy?
I'm only joking. I'm not really, because people will come after me and think I'm a dickhead.
Yeah, I'm cutting that bit out of the podcast there, but that bit you said that you're not. Yeah, I appreciate all the questions we got there, and then inevitably what happens is I put the call for questions out too late, and then people are still sending in questions, but I've stopped recording the podcast, and I just always feel bad whenever that happens.
Oh man.
But that's just the thing. So, are you doing anything different or out of the ordinary over the next couple of weeks? Or I find this like circuit breaker, or whatever it's called, a little bit tougher than the last one.
It was always going to be, because we had the taste of freedom and then it's getting taken away and then it'll come back again. It'll probably get taken away again. I think you just have to prepare yourself mentally that, like, when things do get good, just don't get too like, oh, this is it now, you know what I mean? And sort of do whatever. The last wee while I've been getting into my running again, which is great, because I had like a leg injury for the last like 2 years and I couldn't really run that much, but now it's like fully back to normal, so I'm really enjoying just every other day doing a little 5k, which is nice. So I've been doing that, and it's good fun.
Can I tell you, I went for a run yesterday, and I went to do a new running route, and I knew near the start, this isn't the way this was described to me. I've gone the wrong way, but I thought, I know my way around. I'm sure I'll come back to eventually where I'm meant to go.
This is like when me and you got lost in Lisbon looking for McDonald's.
Correct. That was your fault.
Yeah.
But this was way worse. I ran to like a totally different part of Northern Ireland that I did not mean to go to. And I meant to go for like 8k run, something like that, nice and easy. I'm like 10k in and I haven't turned back yet. You know what I mean? So at this point, I was like, oh shit, I kind of need to get home. Then I need to go to the loo. Now I'm in the countryside running. I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I think, right, I'll just go in a bush or something. It'll be fine. There's nobody about.
Yeah.
There was one guy who was about 200 meters behind me for the entire run. There was another guy running behind me. And I was like, if I stop in the middle of nowhere, he's going to know what the crack is. He'll recognize me. He works at the Sunday Life, probably, or the Sunday World. It'll be a front page on Sunday. What do I do? So I'm looking at all these bushes, and then I'm looking at the leaves, and I'm thinking, if I see some nice big juicy leaves, we're in business. But I can only see small leaves or like jaggies, and obviously, listen, I don't know what you're into personally, but I don't like the idea of jaggies in my bum. So I started, and that's some of that conversion therapy, by the way. I didn't know what to do, and I was like, I'm just gonna have to go. And then I also couldn't run anymore because I was like, if I run, it's going to make it worse. So I had to like walk, run, waddle, walk, run, walk, run. And you know what? I made it home, and then I went to the toilet, and then I realized if I knew what it was going to be, I would have just done it outdoors. You know what I mean? It was like it was like I don't want like going to. I think it's weird when people talk about like shitting and stuff. Like a lot of guys are like love talk about that. I don't, but I would say this: if I hadn't known it was going to be that efficient and clean of a job, I would have just done it and continued my run.
Right. Okay.
Then I'm on the way home. I realize I'm 4K from home at one point. I start running down this road. I've been on the road for like already a couple of miles. There's a road closed sign in the distance. I run up to it. There was one guy manning it, sitting on a chair with a mask on. And I was like, if he tells me I can't go down here, I'm just going to have to go, all right, mate, I'm going to shit beside you here. And I started running down it, and I said, I meant to say, are pedestrians still allowed down here? But I was under pressure. And I said, by the way, I have big Bluetooth noise cancelling headphones on, and I ran past him and went, are humans allowed down here? And he went, yeah. He went, yeah, but you're not, because you're fucking alien because you asked that question. But it was a nightmare time. So now the moral of the story is go before, make sure you don't go, and then also bring a wee packet of wet wipes, maybe, just in case.
Yeah, we emergency put it on your little shoulder.
But you're an urban runner, so you would never be able to do that.
We mean an urban runner.
You run in the city.
No, I run in the yeah. I'm trying. My current running place is down the park beside my house, and it's basically like this huge park, and I run around it like a few times, and that equates to like 5K. But there is moments where there's bushes in it, and there's times there's no one there, but still a bit too risky. Like my house is right beside it, so if I do need to go straight back up the road,
honestly, I think at one point I was closer to your house than mine.
Sounds like it.
I gotta go because now we've talked about going to the loo. I need to go to the loo, but sorry, before
you go, I'm just going to say this, and I don't know what way this is going to turn out, but the whole time your audio has sounded a little bit high, and what I mean is it sounds like you're a little bit like a helium balloon. Now, I don't know if the recording will sound like that, but I've enjoyed listening to you 2 octaves higher the entire time.
Dan's going to have to work his magic on this. Thanks for the heads up, but
no, I want to record the whole time with you.
Okay, cool. Well, we're doing the whole podcast again, word for word.
Word for word, yeah.
I'll transcribe it and we'll act it.
Yep, no problem. Green screen.
All right, partner. Aaron Butler online on Twitter, Aaron Butler Instagram, Facebook, all that.
All over it.
Thanks very much.
A pleasure. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.